Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, maybe even good night, as this is our broadcast of Essentials.tf and our beginning of ETF2L 6v6 Autumn 2024. That's season 48 for you paying attention. Anyway, if you are completely brand new to this, I'm TurboTabs. I'm alongside with my buddies and friends and pals and slash wife, Ben PL and Samus. Ben, you are not my wife.
Yeah, I'm
but
not
you
the wife.
are my friend.
We're clean up straight away. Yep.
Welcome to another ETF2L season, sir. How does it feel to kind of go into the breach once more?
It's great to be back, right? It's been such a long time. I've just checked now, right? It's 4 whole months since those Prem playoffs of season 47, way back in May. So what a time to be back. Summer's over, the dark nights are coming in, so all the more reason to sit inside and watch some fantastic Prem level TF2 action. And yeah, we're back here, ETF2 season 48. We've got MANDEM and 4 up first round, and that's two pretty strong teams looking back at it, right?
Yep, you are correct. And before we get into the teams and all these players and all these sort of little things, there's a bit of sweeping change that's been had here, Ben. And not just the teams themselves and not just the players, not just June's new Oppie name. We'll get to that. We've got some new things regarding ETF2L itself. We've got some unbans, Ben. When's the last time have you had to dust off ETF2L's, WordPress page and have a look at these unbans?
Well, we've had bans fairly recently. We haven't had unbans, which I guess is a lot more exciting, right? Unlocking something new, some new toy to play around with. And yeah, we've got 2 new toys this season in the base jumper and the buffalo steak sandwich. So are these sort of just, things that are unbanned because people have realized they're not very good, they're not going to breach the meta at all? Or do you reckon there's maybe any chance of them getting some non-ironic action?
I've been around for a while, to the point where you feel like something could be quite harmless until all it takes is that one player to kind of go into the laboratory one day and just kind of cook up something that should have stayed in the test tube. But who knows, maybe change isn't always bad, as my parents told me in an impressionable age. Maybe this could dawn upon some new and wonderful TF2. But just to remind everybody what these 2 unlocks do, the buffalo steak sandwich is just the one that speeds off the heavy pretty quickly from the start, kind of, giving him a rollout tool in a way. And the base jumper, well, if you've been paying attention to the Essentials TF kind of cup, experimental cup, and maybe the one that ignited all this change, you already probably take a guess what that means. That's the one where you can turn your soldiers and your Demomen into orbital strike missiles, Ben. Launch them pie high into the sky and keep them there. I feel bad for these scouts.
Yeah, there was some brutal plays in that Experimentalist Cup, particularly from Demo Men, to be honest. It just like launching up and being able to just rain stickies from above. It's like full on like carpet bombing an entire area. It's absolutely brutal what you can get done with the parachute. And yeah, in particular, of course, you're sacrificing the gunboats to go for it, so on Soldier at least. So it's maybe not something going to be run full time, but yeah, there's definitely some niches that we saw, especially in that Experimentalist Cup. And yeah, it was a great idea, go and try out some of these weapons, see what they're like, and people seem to like it, right? It's in the season.
All right, keeping with this theme of change, we've got 2 teams that actually go unchanged, as in like activity wise. They are here from the previous season. MANDEM, the reigning champions from our last season, are looking to defend their crown, but they have I'm trying to think if they've got any sort of changes. There's potential change here because there is a rostered up Rons on the squad. I don't think they have been playing with him here and there, but Lordox is still kind of hanging about as well, as always, Mr. CEO. But over on Forfence obviously can't be playing with Rons as well, so he's missing, and I think they're going to be playing with D-Maul instead here.
Yeah, and over on Medic as well, I believe Juxter is now actually joining Garda as a flank scout. So we saw Juxter on Scout a couple of seasons ago back on the 3.5 stars team. So yeah, best of luck to Juxter over there. But I believe, fingers crossed, I think Mueller is joining.
Yep, you're
from my
correct.
research. So yeah, that should be an exciting French roster. But that's the thing with these French teams, right? Is there's so many great talented French players that all end up on full offense eventually at some point, and every rotation this lineup comes around with these full French rosters, that they're always so strong and they're always contesting for these top spots. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting lineup to see.
Yeah, truly a dying breed, a pure blood of one countryman kind of all rounding up their best players to see who can just face off. And it's going to be a close season. A lot of people would tend to just go to a previous yesteryear and point at one team and say, now that's the best team. They're definitely going to win no matter what. But there's quite a few contenders, in my opinion. Do you agree here, Ben?
Yeah, it's pretty close. There's a fair few that could be up there, right? And these two are among them. These two teams obviously both made playoffs last time round, but there's some of these new mixed teams as well are looking at pretty damn strong. Like in particular, I think the new Panzer team looks like it could be a threat coming into that later into the season for those top spots. But of course, MANDEM have to be in any sort of conversation for this, right? They won every series they played last season, other than that one tie against Skedder in league play, and they kind of ran away with it in playoffs. So if that form was to continue, okay, it was 4 months ago, but in the off-season cups, they've also looked pretty good. So I think they're the team to beat at the moment.
All right, Ron's has entered the server, and I can still keep biting my lip here. Who knows? He could change to blue, could change to red at any moment, but I'm 99% certain now he is playing for Mandem. And what do you think of this little kind of change up, rostering in Ron's? Do you think he's a nice fit for that Mandem squad?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm honestly more interested in the fact that Rons is coming into play against forefends. Like Rons has been on
Ooh.
forefends for so long. This would be so interesting because obviously knows all the pocket strats, all the tendencies, knows these French players inside out. To have someone with the information on your team is so valuable. And yeah, it should be really exciting. See what Rons can do. See what that information can do for their team. Because honestly, having sort of a spy go to the enemy team and play alongside them is can be quite hard.
Yeah, and plus this also goes to the other side of things as well. Forfents are also going to be very aware of Ron's shenanigans and what he likes to do. And if I had to give anybody a little bit of advantage from that, I think Forfents are going to be benefiting it more than Mandem will be. A lot of people on Forfents can know what Ron's plays like and what's going to wind him up, especially in a class that's polarizing
Oh,
as
true.
roaming soldier. But does Rons really have the time and the patience to go through every single little nitty gritty thing about his team? Like, oh, don't do this. Brugman doesn't like that. And oh, you've got this. Delhi doesn't care for that and this and that. I don't think he'll have a word in edgeways to pull that off. But, with all the forefends, they don't need it explaining. They know.
Yeah, they know, of course. And we're getting players added up into the server. But we're going to say the first map is going to be Metalworks, which is Forfence's pick. This is where they decided to go first on their as their home turf. We're going to be going over to Product, I believe, later on as Mandem's pick. So, shall I throw in some predictions? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Forfence are going to take their pick?
Well, it's early season. This is the one where teams are obviously shaking off the rust and see if they can get back into the swing of things. So I'm going to tell you right now, it's unpredictable. I can't even tell you like a educated guess. This is just down to the players themselves, how much they've been pugging over the last seasons, how sharp they feel in TF2, and just getting back into the remembrance and the flow of it. Fortunately, these two teams are part of solid teams that have played for seasons before, so you can kind of, it's more like riding a bicycle than a unicycle for these two. But again, it's just down to who's been kind of keeping up with the TF2 in the off season.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, speaking of, there's Mandem had a bit of action earlier on, but this Forfence team, let it be known, this is very close to the roster that won the Nations Cup as well. Can remember and beat out couple of these really strong sides in that. So yeah, they've been keeping themselves very reactive over that time. So yeah, I agree with you, but I just think Mandem, there's something about it, right? They look so good, and when they get the ball rolling, like particularly in the early seasons, sometimes they've looked so good. So I've been maybe leaning that way slightly, but like you say, it's so close. And these seasons, like especially like post Witness Gaming, since they've stopped playing the seasons at least temporarily, like you say, every game sort of feels almost like a 50-50, right? There's so much more like parity, and yeah, it leads to some really exciting TF2.
I've got one last thing to introduce and to quickly dot upon about here, Ben, before we go into it. There wasn't just that change with the weapons. There's one last little itty bitty change that you might notice in your games is we've got a pause timer now. So what does that mean is every time a team wins a round, loses a round, there's going to be about a 7-second pause, maybe even a bit longer between these things. And it gives time to and players and teams to strategize on these mids a bit more and maybe even the gameplay overall. Do you think that's going to have much impact before we get into our first match, the ETF2L season?
I think it could have some impact. Yeah, it's more like the idea that it gives you a time. If you've just been rolled off mid, you have like a little bit of extra time to maybe sort of come with some counter strat next time around. Because sometimes it's you've been rolled mid, you try to set up a last defense, doesn't go well, and you get thrown all the way back to mid with your head still spun the other way. But I guess we can stop the talking now because the gaming is about to begin. We've got Forfence in their usual blue colours. And MANDEM over there in the red. ETF2L Season 48 is a go.
Yes. Please, please, though, don't stop talking, because we've got a lovely cast. We've got a cast of our first Metalworks, and already rocking up on the mids. I see Deli, I see Fancy, and I see them both focusing on that big door to eventually kind of cut down that avenue for these soldiers to kind of jump in and out of. They're almost mirroring each other to start off with these mids. Very patient play. We are back in Prem gameplay so far. Fancy feeling a bit of heat, but not really getting too much pressure. Rons will commit in, but Demol playing defensive has worked out. They're just going to take off the little bites, the little chunks out of MANDEM to start off our first mid capture.
Yeah, very, very patient there for Forfence. They rewarded catching those two flank players over on their respective left-hand side, and that means 2 players up. They're going to have so much space to walk into a MANDEM. They're just not interested in fighting this at all. There's no need to overstay. They're going to have to go back to last. As Overcharges even out for either of these teams, it's advantage Forfence, at least for the start. They're the ones playing in for the round.
Alright, we already see in, so setting up that sentry gun directly onto the point. You don't see that every day, usually favouring on that high ground right hand side, and they throw a soldier in to start off things, but he gets hated upon by that heavy weapons guy and that sentry gun. So with a player down, that does give the opportunity, I said the opportunity, the I guess the downplay for Rons to go in and maybe make a counter sack, but let's see if they go up with an off-class. I don't see anybody going all the way back to spawn where Brugeman's opening the gate for now, so it's back to Cookie Cutter and back at the drawing board, Ben.
Yeah, good effort there from Rons trying to get in through lobby, but it's so hard. Those choke points have been held very, very nicely by those 2 scouts over in the blue. But yeah, like we say, Metalworks last, it's a hard one to work your way in with. There's various sorts of, like you say, the off-classes can happen, but if not, it's going to be Soldier Bomb, just going to be spam onto that gun, which is notoriously kind of hard to get at, especially with these far like extremities often watched by soldiers to spam in. So maybe it is just on these soldiers. Can someone fly through and can someone go for a hero play?
Oh, selfish Inso. I thought we were going to see some sort of NA shenanigans where I've been seeing them build these teleporters near the dispenser, so I need to get used to June's name. Uppy can just take the teleport straight out of that yard area and away from the danger, but instead he built up a little alley-oop, a little step for himself to make some, I guess, some ladders for his team.
Yeah, it's kind of useful. Honestly, I've not seen too much effect of the teleport back, but it's a really nice idea. It could work. And actually, speaking of, the sack comes in and gets absolutely nothing. Soldier and Demo both down on the Forfence side, so they're going to have to step back. And it's all on Haunts now and Fancy as they start pressuring their way in onto the second point. Who might be in trouble, but Demol hits those.
I mean, he does hit those. He physically hit them. He blocked Horns like it's a game of basketball. And oh, there's been a fouling on the other side of the court. QB goes down trying to go in. I don't know what he was kind of hoping for. Maybe an overextension onto the Demo Man, but it doesn't work out to say the least. And surely he have to come back as an off-class now. No.
It doesn't seem that way, which is maybe surprising.
Oh,
but
true.
Never mind. Uppy's just dropped.
Uppy.
The bomb comes in, Brugeman gets it, 2 soldiers go down for it, so are the rest of this team safe? Nevo's weak in lobby 2, Fancy or does not manage to catch it. Really important frag at the end there from Nevo, able to keep this defense up on Moolah, but now massive advantage, 2 soldiers for a drop on the medic, absolutely huge for Forfence. We said before it was advantage to them, now it's literally advantage. They can start walking in very, very soon and they can maybe start looking at playing around on the board. Oh,
the memes are entering my head here, Ben, because now we can just make all these jokes of like, why did they replace June with Oppie? This Oppie person is awful, but they Uber in, they're trying to take out the sentry gun. Boulder's making it a really awkward job because he's trying to just push them back with the air blast, but that does cost them a player, but it allows Haunts and Rons to kind of keep themselves alive and be those final few fraggers to deal with the collapse onto the point. And while they did sacrifice their scouts, their soldiers put in a lot of work there, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. Haunts in particular dropping in off that little lamp with the point. Nice sink there onto the point.
Oh, Haunts sees it!
Oh, Haunts. Huge work again. Haunts keep going. My man, no, doesn't get any more though. Good effort through, but speaking of, second point getting capped up. No forward spawns denied other than Delhi. Means that there is maybe a chance of a forward stance here from Forfence, but it's full Uber ad. So, MANDEM looking good.
Yeah, they want to get greedy with this. A lot of teams like to get greedy when making these sorts of transitions with the Uber charge, seeing if they can kind of sail this advantage all the way to their last. They managed to push them out successfully. Nobody kind of committing in onto Oppie's life, and that will preserve the Uber charge. But it's bought a little valuable time. 4-4 fence to build their own on Moolah.
Yeah, it means that now it's going to be evened out, but it is a point for free at the end of the day. MANDEM did just get that midpoint without losing anyone, without anyone trading out, so it's going to be all down to now the pressure in. Normally we see something in alley, some soldiers flying through as the space is being taken already by these red players. Eyes on horns, eyes on runs, I want to see who's going to go for something.
Yeah, the pressure here is on Moolah to do a nice sort of mixture of keeping... Oh, wow, the scouts were really on top of Haunts there. Moolah didn't even aware of that soldier hovering above. We do have a pause, but I guess something must have gone wrong.
Yeah, Haunts got absolutely deleted, like you say. Those two scouts, I think they both hit like 100 damage scattergun shots at exactly the same time.
Yep.
That health bar just vanished.
Moolah didn't even look up. Like, I think he's just like blissfully unaware. And I was going to talk about this fine balance of you want to be out there and healing your squad. You also don't want to be too far out there as a medic to kind of keep yourself prone to these jumps outside your little bunker safety door. But I guess when the scouts are just this hot on top, who needs a doorway?
Yeah, absolutely. And now with the player advantage, we can sort of see from this this freeze cam we've got, there's some space being taken by Fourth. It's quite a lot actually. Ron's is weak too, so MANDEM are going to have to back up at least a little bit. It's all a case of how far do they have to back up. Can they catch one of these players in this transition and sort of set up a hold in the midpoint, or are they going to get pushed even further back? But yeah, soldiers can do.
I've got the news for you, Ben. It's because Nevo disconnected, so he must have got that obviously instant deletion. He must have quit out TF2, opened Windows Movie Maker, and started immediately putting that clip in. I mean, you know how much these players do love their little frag clips, and we are starting our ETF2L season, so be eager to see what other things make it. I'm not seeing any big clips so far. Teams are playing these quite strategically. Ooh, kind of crazy plays. That's maybe that whole little bounce.
Yeah, it's been pretty slow, pretty standard stuff so far. But yeah, we are only what, like 6 minutes in. Still plenty of time for especially in a map like Metalworks. These soldiers can so many big high walls, so many skybox opportunities. But it is disappointing if someone's disconnected, obviously, because that means, you know, hopefully that didn't happen at an awful time. You know, Uber's about to be taken in, Pocket Scout, like DC's. No worse feeling in the world.
Fortunately, they're not on the lats, so hopefully if it does, they have a time to kind of address it, go back, you know, just kind of recuperate for the last point, or maybe even like the midpoint if it's goes the other way. So obviously Nevo's must be having some sort of disconnect, and this is probably prone to happen on the first week. You're not booted up TF2 in a while. You're like, what the hell? There's 64 bits now, and okay, we're back into it. He's got all his bits ready. He's picked up the other 32, and we're underway to see what's going on with these gamers. And so far, nothing. They're just kind of going back, resetting over on their respective points. Yeah,
nice work, MANDEM there. Like, I was worried for a moment. I saw Brugman flying through alley when the pause happened. I was like, maybe there's a rough chance here that Brugman could go for something and perhaps catch players in transition. But everyone from MANDEM was so quickly out to that middle point. They're able to get their spawner in, and there's no loss at all. There's still 4 minutes from this round reset time, and they've got plenty of time to go for any sort of similar sack again.
Yeah, Moolah still holding very aggro, really, in respects to a lot of medics that would play around this point area. Some would never leave in the doorway or even the room. They throw a soldier high in the sky, but he's only high. He's not going too far, as he's just trying to bait out and kind of address maybe some sort of info to his team. Lands a couple of like love taps to Moolah, maybe softening him up for the big jump. Bronze is in, doesn't quite get on top of Moolah though, as he's already backing out of the little doorway. And Nevo's kind of just, I think,
this is where the
got the problems now.
Yeah, really nice distraction though there with the bombs in bronze. Remember that Delhi was just caught out completely as the push comes in now in this 5v6 overcharge used out on the defense from Moolah. He's going to be able to get a kill onto Horns, maybe onto Fancy too, who's so weak. But never mind, Fancy gets out and gets a frag on the escape too. So looking very good for MANDEM now. Respawn comes back in. That was where the pause happened. And this Uber coming straight in from lockers already.
Yeah, you can see that this obviously this DC was a lot of impact actually. Without one scout making that back out, they were forced to use their Uber charge, and it gives 3 Uber for MANDEM, and a 3 Uber for the ETF2L champions is nothing to snuff at. It's a round up for MANDEM, but it's just some hard luck for Forfens.
Yeah, absolutely. There's such a lower chance of that force coming through on last with an extra scout up, so big deal. But I will credit that play on second. Like I said, the distraction was there. They caught Delhi, they caught the demo man, and they caught, I believe, a soldier underneath the point 2. So there was momentum coming in. Probably not enough to get a force, but Forfens, they have to bounce back now. They're around down, still a load of time left, and it's their map pick. Plenty of time to work with.
Alright, another dawn, a new me, a new mid. Delhi, fancy, turning up with the same positions. Everybody's kind of dotted about in the same positions last time. What we don't see last time, though, is Demo jumping in aggressive and just getting in a more aggressive position. He's not actually committed, he's not stayed somewhere, he's just kind of fluctuated on top of the vent and he's just sending some spam. They eventually bully down that one that showed weakness, and it allowed the rest of Forfens to address all these other stragglers and behind players. And yeah, now MANDEM find themselves again on the back foot as they have to deal with this second point aggression. They actually commit Haunts in behind. He will go down for his sorrows.
Brugman's in a massive position here. Goes to up. He can't land the rocket.
Oh, he's trying a skill stick. It doesn't pop. Oh, it finally pops off now because they throw in a couple more stickies and a scout to boot to get that Uber charge out of the stinking medic. And yeah, Uppy is, oh, nice pipe coming out from Delhi onto his former teammate. Fancy's sticking in with the fight. He's might go down. He's eventually going to go down. He's taking a long time to go down. There we go. He's down. All right, so they've got an Uber charge force out of that, so this is not the worst for MANDEM, but I mean, they have got a couple of people still down and they still have to conjure up a last defense, Ben.
Yeah, with no gun as well, just that heavy no demo man 2 is absolutely massive. Ron's going to jump into the doorway of that shutter just to try and slow things down, try and stem the bleeding a little bit. But Cubi's in so deep, Evo's in as well. Haunts is so weak underneath this point. It's going to be really tough to hang on to this one. No soldiers now for the defending MANDEM side. The heavy is so weak. Nevo in trying to play the point, gets a lot of cap time and caps it under the noses completely. Everyone forced back on such low HP, and Nevo thinks, you know what, now I'm back in the game. Reboots happened. Just to win the round.
Yes, very nice and very brave from Forfens. A lot of teams would kind of just look at the Uberchar situation and just realize there's a lot of moving parts happening with this last point, and a couple of players are going to come back from the respawn and would have backed out there. But Forfens did what I thought was the harder push and paid off in the end. They look like the stronger team on this map.
Yeah, absolutely. And then mids have been very good. Bruges with the signature bomb straight onto Fancy. Bombs away though, doesn't land that second rocket. That's sort of got a name of the Bruges bomb now. It's good to see it coming into action again, even though it's only week number 1. As actually massive damage onto Delhi. Never mind. Indeed, as Demo's going to try and get in for a salvage, not going to get anything. And now it's the complete reverse scenario that we're used to. Haunts
does get on top of Moolah. Moolah's flying away though, but he's being chased by Runs. Runs doesn't quite find the frag onto Moolah. That is like a single-digit worry if I've ever seen. And oh, they do walk away with the mid this time, but man, that you got to be kicking yourself. Both of these medics were just on the precipice of death. 5 HP over in Ali when that final rocket hits. It just is not quite enough. Both soldiers fed their lives for that, but neither of them able to get that last lick of damage over onto Moolah. Great hold, escaping out through the alleys to the rest of the team. And after that moment of excitement, the reward now for Forfens, they can slow things down, they can just chill, they can sit in their positions, they can wait for these oncoming sacks from the MANDEM team. And again, as usual, it looks like it's going to be some sort of pressure from the alley and from this choke area. Haunts again, staying inside the house, going to try and maybe catch some spam when Rons bombs in, as last time, because he seemed to work a treat. Yeah, Rons goes in early. The scouts are right on top of him, though, and not letting him allow on top of their medic. And yeah, it seems the game plan from MANDEM is all about just pressure, and pressure onto the medic as well. That's where all the focus is coming from. Fancy, maybe even Haunts as well on this flank. Everyone's just trying to get in and set up Rons in a nice place. He instead settles for a player they're not thinking about too much, and that's Brugman in the sort of lobby area.
Oh, so much space.
That forces their hand completely, because with that soldier kind of challenged and taken out of, that Rons player could be coming in from behind and they can't risk it. They have to back out.
And there's so much pressure coming in anyway. Both soldiers flying in. The force comes out over onto Mula and 2 soldiers dying for it. Yes, it's something for the defensive side, but MANDEM, they're able to get back out so quickly. They're all the way back on second, and there's no even thought of a counter-sack yet because no one's in position for it.
Yep, no sentry gun, no heavy weapons guy, at least in that area to deal with Rons coming in from the little window and forcing out Mula's Uber. And with an Uber charge up, this should be just a simple flick to the page of playbook for MANDEM now. Everyone should be capping a last with an Uber advantage, certainly the ETF2L champions.
Well, they're 1 for 1 so far with these ad pushes, but this time there's a Pyro to deal with. The Pyro is locking the door in their face. Devo has done so much good work here, but so much time. Horns bombing in, trying to do the damage, but is not going to get there. 3 players fall, and an Uber used over on the MANDEM side. It is a disaster of a push, and now Forfeits, they can start charging their way back in, but not unless Rons comes in with a kill on 98% for Mula. There's no advantage to speak of. Everyone runs back all the way to last. Fantastic salvage.
It must sting just that little bit more having your former teammate be the one to just be the difference maker for this MANDEM squad. Because now you just wonder a separate alternate timeline. Ronza would be protecting you from these roaming soldiers, not be the roaming soldier. And yes, now they have another crack at it, but surely they'll be a bit more prepared for this Pyro play again by Nevo. But who knows? Maybe it was just a flumped sort of couple of shots on that Pyro, and they're going to make the same push again, I think.
Yeah, it seems like they're double bluffing. They're going straight back the same way through this far left-hand side. There's a gun as well to deal with. Everyone's getting blasted around all over the shop here. Boulder trying to get some cap time in, but the Pyro again doing great work. Devo as well, finding a frag. And there's only 4 players left alive. All the combat classes now dropping like flies over on the MANDEM side. They're going to have to run all the way out. Forfeits again, another successful hold. And these far left pushes from MANDEM, they just haven't been working both times. Players are getting flung all over the place as soon as they get through that door. They just can't get anything done.
Yeah, it seems like it was the same dish but a different flavour, as this time Pyro stayed alive and managed to switch off to a scout, and those sort of scout re-enters from post-Uber situation seems so strong. Just grab your buff from your medic and just deal with all those tag players trying to attempt to get last. Horns going all the way behind. Oh my god, he's not going behind anymore. Demo meets him and kind of slaps him down, and now the push can continue. It looked like it would have been a bit of annoyance to kind of halt that push, but it took no time at all.
Up he has though now. That's bought like another 5 or 10 seconds, and that's enough to get down even Uber situation. Oh, with Fancy going down, never mind. Okay,
the soldiers are in now. They're like, oh yes, we can finally go. We're free.
It was good work from Horns, but just, yeah, not quite well enough, as Fancy getting caught there is pretty detrimental. And Fancy not going to be up for this second hold either. Is denied the forward spawn. There's so much free space here over in Alley. There's a double bomb from MANDEM soldiers trying to land in over on towards Mula, but is Uppy going to be safe here on the point? Seems like so. Bruisman's gone all the way out behind, and both medics actually seeming very safe. Horns gets traded out on the other side, so maybe things stabilise and maybe the pressure still keeps coming in. It looks like it's still going to keep coming.
There's a lot of damage put out from Demo here, but the Uber charge is really going to dissuade them. Oh no, they lose Nevo on the sort of back out with this Uber charge. Is it going to be worth it though? If Deli goes down, I don't think it will be, but he will manage to keep himself alive against that aggressive scout. But they hold on to the Uber charge. This is what they were kind of banking on. If they can get everybody back from the forward respawn back into the Uber charge arms of Mula, maybe this all would have been worth it.
Yeah, that's where it's all counting on now. This has to be a really good Uber charge to get in, because yeah, Uppy's got, what, 50% Uber? Like, probably going to have in time for last, so if they are going to go for something crazy, it has to be pretty quick. But at the moment, I think they're just happy just to try and get this second point for free, which is probably going to be the case. There's still some traps to clear on the way through, but that is all it's going to be. Forfeits capping up the second point, going to be equalising the Uber charges. Inzo already getting the gun up on last, but not built up to actually moving the gun, so maybe there's a chance for a moment Forfeits can maybe try and blast in.
Yeah, has it back on that spot now. He must really believe in that spot in some regard or manner. They do lose a couple on the flank trying to push in and pressure on this right hand side. That's 3 players. That's a kind of a chunky spend, but maybe this is all part of the playbook. We've been seeing these sort of teams where they spend a lot at these last points, trying to push them, egg them into going to last. And yeah, they pushed out of last certainly, but they've managed to get the Uber charge force out of Mula. But it's a different game now. Sure, you've got this Uber charge on Uppy over on MANDEM, but do you dare go out and spend it with the back caps here, Ben?
Yeah, it's so dangerous, especially with no demo man as well. Fancy is only just spawning in now, so no traps in any of these doorways, no traps on the point either. They might be getting forced out regardless. They are going to get forced out. Only gets dropped to Uber. Inzo is going to be the main target of this, but Demul has been so sneaky underneath. Are they aware of this? Demul is just hiding underneath the point. Surely someone's seen this on the way back. It doesn't seem like it, though. No one's checked it. Demul.
Oh my god, he walked out. Wait, surely somebody saw him during all of that. Oh, shoot.
Lives.
Oh, beyond me.
Oh, that's crazy.
God, that was very close. I can't believe. I need to have a POV check on that, and have a quick look at the eyeballs and maybe the peripheral visions there. Surely they would have spotted him. He sticks out. He's blue. The entire area is red. He's a big blue man walking through your doorways. Anyway, speaking of big blue men walking through the doorways, we've got an overcharge coming in. Nevo straight on top of the point. Point pressure. Sticky's on point. They've been cleared. They get even more point pressure on top of that as well, whilst they're pushing the rest of this demo man and MANDEM out. And yeah, it's a second round on the board. A lot of exchanges, a lot of smart plays happening in this round.
Yeah, absolutely, and again, catching those players out, and Demul obviously didn't get too much with that play. We've got to remember that started off with a force over onto Ubi, and a force which didn't go particularly well. They didn't lose too many players other than Demul over the forefront side, so yeah, massive advantage to walk in with, and very cleanly taken, much cleaner than the two ad pushes we saw from MANDEM just a few minutes ago. So now it's 1-0 down, that's 2-1 up. The forefront side taking the lead back on their map pick. As we've had some pretty good mids from them in the past, so are they going to go for something similar again? But before they're just catching bleeding players right over at MANDEM.
Everyone is in the superior positions on this mid. It seems like a very figured out mid. Nobody dares deviate, and instead they're going for a very slow, methodical push on full fence. No jumping in, no pushing past the point. QB will go down, but that June goes down to El Rando Pipo, and I guess if they just keep their medic alive and just play off the heels, and this is why you see MANDEM getting a bit more aggressive. Oh, Mula does go down though, but they spent a lot here for MANDEM to try and make this happen. It's a scout versus a bunch of injured players. He can smell them in the water. It's the shark from Finding Nemo, or Finding Nemo. He's going. He wants it. He won't keep committing to it. Now they've exchanged different sides of the map, and now Nevo is actually playing more like Saving Private Nevo than Finding Nevo.
Yeah, we finished the films for now, but yeah, Finding Nevo, I absolutely love that one. And for the MANDEM side, losing their medics so early, but still salvaging in, is really great work. They did identical bombs onto Ali as previously, but this time the second soldier, and I believe it was Haunts, was able to get that second rocket off because Mula again went into single-digit HP in exactly the same position, but there was no one defending to get that kill onto the soldier before the second rocket came out. So it's going to mean mid-1 for MANDEM, and pressure coming in already before these Uber charges can come up, and a lot of spam being taken over from this French side. They're getting forced so far back. Haunts got through the choke. Demul underneath, he's going to try and escape, but he's not going to be allowed. The door is slammed in the face. So a 3-second point, soldier down. It's looking pretty damn good for MANDEM.
This lobby area has not really been kind to Forfens. They don't have many people on it, so when one soldier goes in and challenges to it, it feels like the Achilles heel. The entire defense just kind of buckles from that one soldier going in. I don't think he even killed anybody this time, but it just forced the rest of Forfens to go back there because of the potential. Oh, Mula goes down to the jumper for Haunts, and I mean, fortunately, Delhi's finding some of these frags at the door, but with one heavy weapons guy, an Uber charge, and Demoman lacking the reloads to kind of commit and help in. Nevo's going to block the point, though, gets a couple of mean shots out, and finishes off some of these peppered players as well. I don't know how, I don't know why, but they managed to hold.
Yeah, 2 soldiers for the drop, but everyone else just gets caught, and it's not a great Uber again from MANDEM. They're having to use it in an inopportune moment, and players coming in from behind, players getting back into spawn. Forfen's played that so well to hang on, and they're doing more than hanging on now. They've got a frag onto Fancy already, and they're maybe posturing to start walking out onto this second point. It's going to be hard, even with no demo facing you, but with the constant back threats and such, but they're still going for it.
I say going for it. They're going for it very sheepishly. Nevo will go in, maybe like give a couple of scatter shots and then back out, and Inso kind of reminded that he's not with the rest of his squad there. Gets some love taps all the way back to the red part of the map. We got an Uber charge for Mula and company, but it's not a massive Uber charge. So if they're going to use it, they're going to have to use it quick. But this is not really the style here in Euroland. They like holding these Ubers too much.
Oh, you can drop
Mula! He went went down again. He seriously, I said it, they like holding on to the Uber even to their death.
Yeah, just took a bit too much spam, so goes down in one rocket to a really nice bomb from Rons, and now the advantage just flipped completely the direction. 5-on-5, full ad for Uppy and the rest of the MANDEM side, as they're just going to try and walk this in for free. Surely there's no one home really on this second point. There's Bruceman firing a couple of rockets in, and that is about it. There's a massive advantage to walk in, and we've seen MANDEM go wrong in this position multiple times so far in this game. They've got to make it work now, surely. 7 minutes left to play, they're still a round down, but they've got such a big chance here to equalise.
Evo is rocking that pyro again. It's been very disruptive to the squad. They're actually choosing to pick a different door. General Boulder is wanting to take the long-range method against the sentry gun, but instead he's just changing up his role. Nevo's now on sentry gun protection. Does not protect it fully, but allows some time for his team to kind of deal with them whilst they're spamming down the sentry gun. It's still pretty even, Stevens, so far. They all actually have a medic advantage over the four-fence squad, and I think those heals are going to sail them to this second round for MANDEM.
Yeah, honestly, Rons had a really, really good play in the middle of all that. Rons managed to get in behind the point and did about 400 damage on players retreating into the sport, including a kill onto Mula, and the heavy was taken so weak too and just dragged people back so far that it meant that space could come in. A really nice post-fight play there from the remainder of the MANDEM team to close that one out. Still wasn't trivial even without the enemy medic there healing up their players. So 2-2, we're equalised. Back 6 minutes left to play. Still anyone's game. Metalworks.
We've had all sorts of little flavours of these mids can go. Oh, I hope you have a quick rollout flavour over on this midpoint as Bruceman's going to jump in. He gets a health back as well. He does go down for Ron's punishing him around that health back area, but he has to overextend himself so much. And Fancy's disconnected from the rest of his squad. They're trying to play off that damage that Ron's was running off. And yeah, Fancy going down as well, with Mula still rocking his life. That is going to be an easy convert of a mid to last situation, me thinks.
Yeah, Haunts is the one hider to deal with, but they know there's only one player up. There's no need to go for the sort of the slow play in through alley, so this might not even be checked. Demon goes back, it sees it, finds it out. Haunts in a very awkward situation. Now he's going to trade out. I guess it's not the end of the world. Could have been a heck of a lot worse there for Haunts on that flank play, but now Mula, massive advantage coming in. As yeah, 5 minutes left to play. Could be a very, very crucial one, but again on that mid, just everyone just got disjointed from MANDEM. But now the push is all on this Nevo running in with the Uber charge. There's no one here, there's no one set up at all.
Yeah, I mean, they're just doing the best way of like, how do you dodge an Uber? You just don't turn up for it, but they just go for the one objective instead. I mean, if you read on the dotted line here, what you should do is defend the point. I don't think it's about staying alive from the Uber here, Ben.
Yeah, there was a gun and that was literally it. There was nothing else visible from when they ran in. Nevo runs in with Uber. They say, aha, we're going to run into last with Uber and kill everything. And it's like, wait, where is everyone? What's happened? I guess we'll just win the round in 5 seconds and cap.
You have to give credit to Nevo. He just immediately went onto the point. Usually a lot of scouts might hesitate because they see stickies and they're like, oh, some stickies. But he just went on there and just started cutting them, started shooting them and took one for the team and allowed them so much cap time as well. Fancy was kind of late with it, in my opinion. Oh my god, they are angry. They are upset and they have turned up to mid. The scouts have just full barreled into this midpoint to start off things and cutting across and just going a bit DM fest.
Yeah, and it's a DM fest that definitely works out in MANDEM's favour. They're getting the midpoint. They're likely odds on to get the second point as well, unless there's some re-aggression coming in. There is potential for it with medic advantage over on the French side, as they're going to start pressing in so much cap 10. Oh yeah, the cap comes through. But are you seeing what I'm seeing? Because I am seeing a crit streak coming up from MANDEM.
Oh my. Well, I guess in those final moments of the game, you don't want things to slow down, and crits is certainly a fifth gear of a weapon. Whether or not it's a fifth gear into the bin or if it's a fifth gear into the podium is just another question to be asked. But we're on last. We now have this crit streak. Boulder is now scratching his head. It's like, how the hell am I going to make a crit streak work on this point? It seems they want to just go aggressive and just make some trades over on this flank area, but it's looking more leaning towards the side of fourth fences. Throw in everything and the kitchen sink. There's nobody to even build with Uppy, so maybe, this crits isn't going to do anything at all.
Yeah, it was a pretty sad to be honest, and everyone getting caught in these choke points. And yeah, it's so hard without an Uber. These choke points are so narrow to try and barge in, especially on that locker's side. So much spam taken from the rest of that combo. But now we're into potential chaos time. There's 3 minutes left. Crits versus Uber, with MANDEM on the upper foot in terms of holding the midpoint as they crits their way in, but they're so aware of it.
Yeah, they're all hiding around corners. They're not even too scared. They just see some random sparkles coming in. Rons jumps. Well, I say jumps. He just waddles in. He does force off the Uber from Moolah. I think he just didn't want to drop this time. And yeah, I mean, they do succeed. The Uber's out. It doesn't really do much, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that the one hope you've got on MANDEM, right, is that you are going to build up this crits faster than Moolah is able to build up that Uber. So there is now a chance of a crits versus nothing scenario, which is the reason you go crits most of the time anyway. So we'll see if they're able to manage to make something work better second time. But now Moolah is aware of it, so crits loses a value in that regard, right? Because as soon as the enemy's aware of it, they know exactly how to play against it. They can not be caught by these long-range stickies, these long-range crockets, or whatever you decide to go for.
Deli. He goes down. He's in that lobby area with Rons again. Brugman now has his revenge against him, and someone to stay and someone to go over on this second point. Looks like they're all in, whether they like it or not. Okay, they're not all in. They're taking their chips back. We are not playing this game of poker. And Fancy comes back in with the Uber, the Kritzkrieg, and the Uber charge comes out from Moolah. They're chasing poor Fancy to the end of the earth. Oh my god, he gets a crossbow. He actually survives hell.
That's crazy. There's still 1 minute 30. There's still time for another crit. And once again, this crit is going to be there just in time. It was well played there from Moolah and co. Able to get away just far enough that the crits didn't matter that much last time, but they gave up a point in doing so. This time, there's no point to give up. They're on their last. They can't go backwards. We saw what happened before when MANDEM tried to go backwards from their own last point, as this crit's now hit 75%. All eyes on this Kritzkrieg and all eyes on where these crit damage rockets or sticky bombs land.
The sticky has been revealed, so they know which doorway they want to push from. Oh, nope. They're swinging the miss, changing. They're throwing the stickies on the other side. They will accidentally catch Demon, and they're throwing onto the Pyro, who will get laser beamed down in the sky. There's a sentry gun. There was a sentry gun. They've got a soldier on point. The Devilman's got nothing stickied up, and yeah, it's 3-3 with 30 seconds left. That be the draw.
The damage there, I think Moolah was trying to get back onto the point just to block, but was just physically being knocked away on that little ramp and just could not get onto the point in time. So absolutely unreal scenes. 30 seconds left, the equalizer comes in. We're going to go to Golden Cap on the first map of the season, which is crazy news. Forfence really had this one in the bag. They knew the crits was coming in, but it was well played. In the chaos, MANDEM thrived, and there we go, final 8 seconds. We're not going to be time for even maybe any more than just a couple of frags in this final mid. 1 point apiece.
Yeah, well played to MANDEM. I am not a big believer in critzes, but that was some very good switching of the door. I think that was crucial for their success with that crits and making something happen. It not only allows the Devilman to actually have a bit more ebb and flow, but the scout could actually shoot things as well. He's got an actual open field to fire things from instead of going through that little tiny doorway on the right.
Yeah, the scout actually had more value in the crits, to be honest. Obviously, Fancy was lobbing some crit stickies around and forcing the entire combo with Forfence to run around in fear away from the big sparkly sticky bombs. But at the end of the day, yeah, it was the scouts, just the aerial denial. There's crit scattergun shots do a boatload of damage. But yeah, really well played from MANDEM to battle back under adversity at the end, stuck on the crits for quite some time. But that's the thing, is a team like MANDEM, they're just... They've played together for so long. They're just so good individually that in those scenarios that they all know they're on the same page, and they can battle through and pull out these ridiculous scenarios where there's no way a team can come back with crits into last like that with a minute left on the clock with even players. But yeah, they make it work.
It seems Rons is causing quite the issue for Forfence, and I had theories, or we had theories, that he might have been a bit more figured out against his former squad, but now that I think a bit more about it, put it under the lens of logic here, Ben, I think not many teams kind of pay attention to what the hell that roaming soldier's doing in the game anyway. So when you finally meet the butt end of it, you're like, my god, this is oppressive. And I miss the times that we were playing with this guy rather than playing against him.
Speaking of Rons, I've just got a funny stat from that game. Rons killed Moolah 5 times.
Sending a message.
That one game. It's crazy stuff.
Well, I haven't spoiled myself with the logs just yet, because, I'm still, like, thinking this is not quite over. We've still got a golden cap to get underway, so I'm going to save them. Nice little treat for me, post map treat. But yeah, it certainly felt like it. And it felt like Muller just didn't want to pop that Uber. Like, really, really believed in his teammates, or maybe the plan was always just to go greedy or go home with these Uber charges. We've casted some NA, Ben, haven't we? And this is completely polar opposite to what the NA people. You can't keep them away from that right-click mouse button.
Yeah, they go straight into a doorway. There's already, the second the right mouse button is pressed, there's a demo man double stickying straight in. All the scouts are charging across the point, and there's trades happening everywhere. Yeah, it's a bit faster, but yeah, here obviously we saw a couple of times. But for the most part, teams when they were trying to milk in these Ubers, particularly through the Valley side until mid, it was successful. But there's obviously that one time you're alluding to where Muller gets caught out by a bit too much spam, and then I believe it was Haunch just lands in with one direct rocket into the face with the drop. But we can stop the talking and we can start the playing now, because Golden Cap is underway. Like we said before, 1 point each earned by these two teams on this map of Metalworks. But there's one more up for grabs for the winner of this next final round as we get going on Golden Cap.
All right, let's see who earns the ability to double their points for this map. Let's see. And already, Ron's. It's not a fast rollout, but it's a rollout. He got off pretty quickly and gets the pressure out onto Delhi and has to absorb a health back, and he goes down anyway to a pipe scout combination. And this allows the scout to maybe ebb and flow between the cracks and start giving the pressure aggressively, but they kind of fall flat with their synchronized shots, don't really find anybody. And with a wipe here for poor Forfence, maybe their only hope is the fact that Uppy, June, went down.
Yeah, there was a moment in the middle of that, I feel like, where Forfence was like, yeah, we can see this isn't going too well, we're just going to commit all that we can over towards Uppy. And it does work. It means that they are at least going to have roughly level Ubers by the time this second point is capped up, but it's not going to change the fact they are on their own last, unless they can start bullying their way into second already, and they are thinking about doing it. Ron's is going to pop in and get onto Muller again, as the prophecy foretold. You mentioned it before, Ron's just has Muller in the book, apparently.
I think he just knows these timings of transition. I think when these scouts come in and they feel like they've got a lot on their plate, and they're going around and they're just scanning the area, shooting out some shots and all this, the last thing on their mind is dealing with a soldier that just, pencils in the middle, by the way. Just literally goes across, draws a simple line towards Muller and just dunks on top of him.
Yeah, well, the soldier is
my God, Evil! Nice little sort of ebb and flow through the doorway. I think he's just making it simpler. this bronze guy jumping.
Why bomb? You can just walk.
Yeah, just the simple. It's not even bombing. I think it's just called drive-by.
Yeah, just waddles around the corner, right? Like you just. I don't know, you get on the medic with an extra like 30 or 40 health, depending on what sort of bomb you're going for. So yeah, really nice stuff there. People just catching everyone completely off guard, and despite that, Fancy's still finding a couple of frags, and like Muller's still not overcharged yet. It seems like Forfence is content to sit this one back, and again, like you mentioned before, pushing out of last on any map is tough. Metalworks no different. So even with an Uber ad and Nevo down, like probably not going to see too much in the way of people trying to push out here. It's going to just be Uppy just trying to get this Uber charge back up, and they can start sending the sacks once they have their players in position.
Alright, so obviously MANDEM have to spend some time building the Uber charge, and there's not much going to happen with Forfence in this meanwhile. Usually the play for people on last is to just make a round reset, although they are getting proactive over on MANDEM. They throw in Haunt, he's up in the sky, Muller is all the way into spawn, he says, and yeah, the Sentry Gun and Heavy will clean him up. Ron's though, he jumps in, he's on top of Muller again! Oh, the Sentry Gun, he almost timed it perfectly. If I went down there as Muller, I would just like make an exorcism or just like check out the bad juju, just do some sort of holy water cleaning of the desk. There's something in the air at that point.
Yeah, literally bombing in 1v6. I guess I'd argue 1v7 because there's a Sentry Gun as well.
Well,
there was no pressure.
He just picked the time perfectly.
Against the time, yeah, exactly.
I guess he just knows that habit of like when everyone has their guard down, like, oh yes, they'll be breathing a sigh of relief here, and he just kicks the wind back into their sails.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, This time it's going to be a little bit harder for Horns to get in position. There is a gun just blasting him into the skybox and the sticky bomb as well on the way out. Oh, it's a brutal way to go down for Horns.
Oh my god, that's a Dum Dum gif waiting to be happening. It's like prep moments. He just got absolutely like peppered around like a little child in a bug, just kind of shaking the jaw. Oh dear. Okay. All right. Reset here as we have QB. He's rocking the spy. He's looking at those off classes, see if there's any shenanigans. But MANDEM, they're so cookie and they're so cutter that they're not even funky shapes. They're just circles and squares for these little cookie plays. And I think they're just going to make it happen. Exact thing happen again. Horns going in this time. Doesn't get battered around like a bug. Will get shot down by the Frontier of Justice, believe it or not. And Rons comes in, he times it a bit better. Mulo is scared, and he's like, can we not get this man on lockdown? We have a sentry gun, we have scouts, we have heavies, and yet he still finds attempts at least.
That was so close actually, because the gun just played into Ron's favour. They're blasting Ron's towards Mula for that final moment, but there wasn't enough in the clip to fire off that last shot over towards Mula. But again, it's so scary. The same bomb again, but it's nearly working every time. So why not keep going for it? It's still getting near success, but I guess the one counter argument to that is that there is only 1 minute 40 left on the clock. So at some point, maybe we're thinking trade and go for some kind of chaos play. Oh,
again,
no, we're going for Horns with the big
we're
high bomb in.
We hate our logs over on Horns right now. He's going to instead sync up on the sentry gun. That's a cute little play. And I guess third time the charm, they go in, try and pressure out. The flank though, coming out on top of Huppy, on top of Fancy. They are so low, but nobody's following up on it. They instead want to gobble on a Ron's kill instead. They get a Fancy kill who's trying to help out his teammate, and Uppy, June is out.
All the way back into house, had no friends at all in that moment. Everyone had fallen by the side, so now it's all these last couple of players in this house. There's potential for a massive Uber exchange here as this players being launched all over the place. It's going to be a retreat back now from the MANDEM side up onto mid, but they're going to have reinforcements, so this is absolutely not necessarily a free win over from the French side. Mula's already taken a load of damage. Runs in, smells the blood instantly.
No, he's dropped down.
Just land it. Horns though.
Horns with a massive drop-down play. They've pushed them into the wrong area of the map, it seems, and they just got so greedy. They really wanted to make something happen with that Uber charge, and I don't think I've seen a set of players take so much spam on mid as well. They must have just gobbled every rocket come their way, and that laid down the foundations for that Horns drop-down.
Massive kills onto the medic and gets a truckload of other damage as well. Really nice stuff there from the Holland. So the synchronization between these two soldiers has been very good so far, and yeah, it pays dividends again. That's the mistake, right? You're trying to push through, and they took that trade, and it's like, once the trades come in, the reinforcements there, the height is all the way on MANDEM's side, right? The midpoint, they're on all the crates on top of the point. It's so hard to keep going in once the Zubas fade, and yeah, just caught on the escape.
You just know the second that Muller just takes any sort of tagging at all, like Ron's, he's going in. He doesn't care if it's like if there's 10 eyeballs on him or like the thousands of Twitch chat eyeballs on him as well. He is just jumping in, and I mean, he doesn't always have to come out with success. It seems like it lays enough success for his teammates to kind of get involved as well. But an interesting game of Metalworks. Quite the oxymoron in our first week of ETF2L's awesome season. Ben, I mean, what do we even break down? There's like loads of bits you can kind of break into, but it was very varied in this match.
It absolutely was, yeah. Like Golden Cap, of course, if someone's come in and just seen Golden Cap, they'll be like, oh, MANDEM they were cruising, they were flying with it, they were constantly outside enemy last, they were having some good attempts in, and yeah, they win it out pretty comfortably. But the first 30 minutes of that game were anything but. Four friends came out absolutely swinging, and I've got to say, I think they were the better team for the majority of that regulation time. It was just at the end, it kind of fell apart against that crits, but yeah, on their map pick, bit disappointing from Four Fens to only come away with 1 point, but on the balance of play, I think they maybe deserved a bit more.
I've got a deep philosophical question for you.
Okay.
Who is the roamer for this this squad of MANDEM? Because we
believe Horns is normally their roamer.
Yeah, I guess Ron's is just like if if I want license to jump, I want license to jump. I'm
Yeah,
going
why
in.
not?
I guess, yeah. And I was just like thinking back to it, and it only occurred to me like, okay, there was a time where Horns must have jumped in about 7 times in a
Yeah.
row. And but then Rons was also just finding these very good opportunities. But they make it work. It worked wonderfully. And I mean, take away that performance of Ron's, do you think they would have had that same sort of scoreline? I think not.
Yeah, potentially, and I want to really back to like the point that I made at the start. Like, I think there definitely is some value to sort of having someone on your team that used to play with the enemy team, because even like obviously not like giving all the information to the rest of your teammates or whatever, they know the inner workings of everything about that enemy side, and they know all the tendencies, and especially on the map like Metalworks, the map that Full Offensive historically really like to play. So Ron's has played a ton of that map with them. So yeah, it's a weapon to have with you, and yeah, caught out the rest of that Full Offensive team a fair few
Mm.
times. But yeah, it's a close game.
I think the only credence they had on full offense, knowing a bit of Ron's habits, was these mids. The mids were maybe a
Yeah.
little bit neutralized. It looked like, I think if we look back at the stats, yeah, MANDEM does win it out in the end on mids, just if you include that golden cap. But the mids look very promising from full offense. Not only were they, I think, converted out to more promising situations, but if they did lose a mid, they at least got to Oppie out of the equation for a majority of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we can have a little look at the logs while we're here. Like you say, there's a Fancy just quietly dropped 31 frags. I didn't really notice it happening, in the game. Like obviously Fancy pops off every now and then, but dropping 31 is pretty big, which I guess
Yeah,
is looking good going into Koth, right?
I think he found a lot of time to punish a lot of these sort of
Mm.
Uber charges and exchanges where they want to get greedy and all this stuff like that. I think that's where Fancy does his best work, just staying alive and not only staying alive as well, but doing some sort of El Rando frags and damage that has no right to be made. And as for the Uber charges and the pushes and whatnot, there were some nice ones made out from both of these teams. I don't think anybody should come out of here like kind of kicking themselves too much. I think maybe if I had to like pencil someone, maybe Mueller. But then again, I think some of these, it was a lot of situations where I think it was just came down to trust and philosophy of like what the team wants to go for. I'm not going to kick him too much. Maybe kick some of these scouts.
Yeah.
Keep him in the back of his mind.
Yeah, especially because we saw when the trust worked out, was at that time when I think it was Haunts that bombed in and was just 200 to 0 just instantly by the two scouts. It's like, yeah, that's what the scouts can do when you put the trust in. But yeah, that's enough talk about Metalworks because that was Four Fences' pick. They were there for on their map, and now we're moving over to the sunny hills of Koth Product, which is where Mandem wanted to start their season. So, what are your thoughts coming into this second map? Obviously, Mandem's pick. Do you reckon we're going to see something a bit more convincing from them, or do you think Four Fence have maybe got a chance still in this one?
Uh, Again, early season, you never know who's feeling sharp, who's feeling what, and who's feeling like picking up that sniper class. Sometimes people can get a bit tired and realize I don't really want to think too hard about this map at all. I'm just going to pick up a sniper class, and I hope my guy's going to pop off a little bit, and then give the stresses more to the enemy team. But if that little kind of EU gimmick doesn't work out, that punch card doesn't work out, you start panicking a little bit. So my eyes are mainly going to be seen on the class selection, seeing who's like doing it the regular way or just hoping out for that good sniper play.
Yeah. Oh, dare I say, the stake sandwich is unbanned. There has
I
been a
see.
couple of times I've seen heavy played on this map at like not awful levels of TF2, so maybe we can dream. I don't know. I just want to see the new one that's been used. To be honest, we saw nothing on the last map, but yeah, like you say, sniper is it's a polarizing topic, right? Sniper on cost. Some people swear by it, some people hate it. So yeah, we could see who goes through. We've obviously got people playing it in pre-game, but people play all sorts in pre-game. We had an engineer for a moment in pre-game, so I'm assuming that's not going to be too much to write home about later on. But yeah, the thing with Koth, right, is it can really go either way. Like it's so form based, right? It's obviously people say it's like DM heavy game mode, so you can really, if you're just feeling it, you can pop off. And those scouts, Nevo and QB, they did have a pretty decent game on that first map, so that's maybe a force to be reckoned with here over on product.
I think this might be a case as well as like get good time to get practice in on this King of the Hill map if you're ever on MANDEM, because this is known as the kind of upset maker in TF2's long lore and history. If you are just some scrappy team that is like, you know, usually 8th place on the table and you're going against the first seed, pick yourself a cough map, get some snipers, maybe get a couple of steak sandwiches in your picnic basket. Who knows, you know? And maybe if you're MANDEM, you want to get one step ahead of it and you're looking at these, the big picture of the ETF2L season, maybe you need to get as much of this King of the Hill map into your repertoire as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they've picked it, and they've picked it for any reason at all. We're going to see what they've got to show for us. On the second map, 2-1 points-wise win on that first one for MANDEM. But cost product is up now as Insurgers checking it for any funny business there on the spy originally, checking the mediguns, checking for snipers, but there's nothing of the sort so far as we are cookie cutter for the first mid.
Yep, starting out pretty nicely. I'm ToTabs. I'm with BenPL. I'm with Samus, and we are starting with Fancy receiving a major amount of hate. He holds the line though, hoping that if he puts a lot of damage, his soldiers can follow up with some wonderful rockets. Rons and Haunts kind of dissecting the boys. Deli does get a last little punch out against poor Rons, but they make the mid over on MANDEM, but not without a few casualties. They even lose their medic as well.
Yeah, it was both sides. Medics got deleted very, very quickly, and this is all got to be said, right? After Fancy gets caught instantly on that mid, so despite that MANDEM band together, they get double bombed and lose their medic. But off the back of that, to win with 2 players extra, get that first cap on the board, be an even Uber situation is a big, big win for them. And again, they're 5 players across, jumping around, really trying to put pressure over towards this French combo.
Brugman going in behind, buying maybe a little space, a little bit of panic, a nice damage coming out from Brugman, but they just, best way to deal with someone behind is just to go forward. They haven't got anyone to really help this blob over on the side of 4 fence while Brugman's hoovering up health packs, but they keep the big picture. They keep Moolah alive during all that blobbing, and yeah, they do lose a bit more time, a bit more grace in their sort of behind plays, but they don't lose the war here.
Yeah, Haunts had a big play there out towards Glowy, but was caught out in the end, as everyone seemed very, very aware of it over on the 4th end side. But now even Uber's point about to be capped, that means it's trade time over for these players. But Neville gets caught, and this Uber gets dropped out of it, so QB is going to be the replacement scout running in, trying to substitute him, but it's too late as Uber's fade. 1 player down now over on the 4th end side. They're going to have to back up a bit, and they're not backing up quickly enough because Deli's gone down. Moolah's in trouble as well over towards Cliff, getting bumped from Bronze again. A familiar sight all the way back from Metalworks, but Moolah is able to get out on 20 HP for now, unless Boulder. No way Boulder gets this. No way Boulder, pistol. Oh, Moolah. Oh my god, Fancy. The roller! Oh, I thought the roller was going to get it for a second. It was a great attempt, but the pistol just does not land enough.
Oh my god, the absolute heart in my mouth there. I was absolutely... I couldn't take it. I'm not even playing the video game. And yeah, you could just see MANDEM's moves are very object-based. They obviously want to go in, like, this is the time we're focusing this guy down and he needs to die and all this. It was all the sheer focus and aggression targeted on one player. And then they just kind of see where they can take it from there. And what was placed on that point. This all came off the back of Moolah maybe not quite catching Nevo on that sort of trade solo YOLO Uber, and kind of, but it could have been a lot worse for both of these squads.
Yeah, well, speaking of, quietly, the MANDEM timer has actually gone down below a minute, and they are already a player up here on this one, so offense are going to need to get themselves into gear at some point soon, because they're going to need to get some time on the clock. But Moolah is going to walk in. They're going to try and get this done very, very quickly. Big Uber out from both these sides, traded across this point. Deli is the one getting caught, though. French downman goes down. He's going to be not great for the end of this Uber. But actually, never mind. Hope he gets caught.
Yeah, and with poor Deli going down, there's not really sort of bite to any sort of follow-up, any sort of fighting. I'm just kind of confused, actually. I wanted to have a quick register take. Where are the majority of these 4th fence players, and what are they doing? Just, What are they doing? I just don't see or feel the impact of like where some of these soldiers are. I see these single Ubers coming out from Mula and Nevo and all that, but and Delhi gets obviously gobbled up by these soldiers sort of backtrack. But where are the soldiers? Where are the scouts?
Yeah, well, they've got to do something quick now because there's 8 seconds on this clock. They can't really afford to lose this point, but it looks like for now they're going to be holding on to it pretty well. Unless this bomb comes in, Horns, massive damage in onto Mula, who's surfed all the way up onto China. Great movement there from that French medic, who is going to be rewarded with getting an Uber charge up. So now everyone's back from Mandem. There's 2 minutes on this clock on the blue side, so there is potential to hold on to this, but Uppy's going to be getting an Uber in the next like 10-20 seconds, and after this trade it's going to be all eyes on that, or maybe all eyes on the sniper too, because D-Rule has decided to go up on the Australian.
Yeah, they managed to get a nice trap kill onto Fancy. That's really going to be annoying, as he's kind of the main sort of damage output for these sort of pushing out plays, and just able to kind of just get a lot of territory back onto the sides when you're already down an Uber charge. But they have both Ubers now. They pop off very early. I guess they were worried about sticky traps straight on, and Boulder going for a big solo gets the force out onto them, but this Uber charge should hurt them a lot if they can. Well, actually they're not even gassing. Yeah, they're not really gassing as hard as I thought they would be. They kind of just don't dare cross a certain line. I think it's because they had a lot of players behind, and maybe this was the right play, because then the times they had breaks, they managed to turn around and deal with those players that were collapsing in behind. But when it goes back to a regular just sort of exchanging stalemate fight skirmish on this midpoint, it seems like the 50 versus 50 is just a bit stronger on the red side of Mandem. Just, yeah, I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of ebbs and flows about like the thoughts and the ideas I think they wanted to make with this counter Uber.
Yeah, they backed off so far before using that, like, yeah, it was going to be so hard to catch anything over on the Mandem side, but they were just all clean out to grass, and yeah, the re-engage with the spawner advantage is always going to be good. That's why these really long time advantages, they're so hard to claw back, and this time if you're on 4th fence, you hope you don't get left in that situation with 8 seconds on the clock, having to sort of scramble your way back in disadvantageous situations, but it's all going to start with a good mid. And last time, you said the soldiers, they did have good bombs last time round. They got in with some great damage in onto the combo and some great spam onto Fancy, but this time Fancy's playing in a bit more passive, and he's just playing the spam game over towards the point until the big bombs come in. D-Mule improvement into landing in onto Uppy, who is dodging and weaving, but not weaving well enough, as D-Mule actually gets 2.
This is perfect from 4th fence. They keep D-Mule committed in. He finds a kill relatively on his own, and Brugman, he makes it a lot of space and intimidation to kind of start off this bombs. It's a nice little way. It sees who, if you can get one of these soldiers to land favorably, and then the other one that doesn't quite find a place, they can just always jump back and help out with the fight. And Brugman did a lot of helping out his scouting buddy, dealing with these sort of counter sacks from the aggression of Mandem. They are going for a forward push now. They counter over on Mandem with the Inzo Pyro. D-Mule holding close to the doors, wants to commit onto top of onto Uppy, but Uppy will keep herself alive, and yeah, that is a bit of advantage saved from Mandem.
Oh, I was so scared for a moment there. D-Mule just gets all the way through.
Oh, Brugman.
So it happened last map too. Brugman goes in 1-for-1 with Fancy, is arguably worth it, but this spawn is going to be so quick for Fancy. Delhi caught out as well, absolutely not worth it anymore at all. And Mula with no Uber charge to use, he's going to have to back up. There's no open to trade into this point. They're just going to have to start retreating. And are they going to retreat quickly enough? Because Rons is in onto Mula, who gets the pack just in time. Horns, the second wave of offense, though, is here as well. Nevo is there, though, to sweep up. And in the meantime, Uppy's gone down on the other side. So Mandem, they aren't going to have the ad we thought they were going to have, and Mula is able to stay alive throughout all the onslaught over on that cliff. Really well played from Mula and Nevo, and they're going to get another big advantage on this clock and on the Ubers.
Yeah, Mula showing a lot of pedigree there, and kind of coming in clutch for his team. Delhi a bit more forward for my liking during that forward hold. I think once they got that fancy kill and Brugman going down for the commit, probably should have started backing out early, but you know, Demomen and their sticky traps, you can't keep them away. Yep. And he did go down, but it all works out. Now they've got some time, some refreshing amount of time onto their second round, and they've also got an Uber charge at this point. They can get aggressive if they want. There we go, now we've got an Uber charge going. Now we see June, now we're trying to click towards them. They're taking the ball taxi out though, and this taxi's a smooth ride.
Runs. It doesn't actually get anything out of that.
Oh, thank goodness.
How did the soldiers get no killers? They did like 600 combined damage, those 2 bombs onto that combo. It was a really, really good effort. It was just a bit of a big gap between the two of them, but Runs and Horns, again, both collapsing in these post fights, doing such good damage. And Forfeit's very, very fortunate to still have 6 players alive for this one.
Oh my god, Horns feeling absolute hatred. He has 3 players to deal with on this flank. Demor meeting in the middle, though, does go down early to this one. But Brugman, he's taking the long scenic route round, walking all the way. A scout's going to spot him, though, and somebody took his health back, Brugman, so he's going to go down relatively quickly. And a lot was invested into that sort of behind play because the front line was pretty weak over on Forfeit's.
Yeah, and now that means they've got to go all the way back to spawn, and the forward hold can get set up on the other side. So now we'll see what MANDEM's forward hold is looking like. We've had 2 attempts so far from the Forfeit side in this round alone, and they've had mild success. They were burst out by the Pyro pretty quickly, and the Pyro is going to be up this time on Nevo, who's taken very, very weak on this first attempt through this doorway. Brugman has managed to fly through that, as has Demule, but I think they're both getting taken down, and there's no answer yet back from the Forfeit side onto these players. 3 players going down. They're not budging.
It's kind of interesting what Fancy did there. He set up some stickies on the left, kind of feign that he was like, oh, I'm totally watching the left here, when really, I'm going to go over to the right. I'm just going to nuke that spot. Usually a Pyro can cause a lot of ruckus, you know, reflecting back some rockets as well, but oh, actually, oh no, he's actually caught out this time. You have not been watching your doorway, Fancy. We noticed, and we're going to punish you for it. Massive punish coming out from that play that worked out for Fancy the first time round. They do get a scout sneaking from the house area on top of Moolah, so that is a little bit of credence during all of this sort of rush. Horns is going to get knocked a couple away from behind in the enemy lines area, and yeah, they have the cap point. They do kind of force out the Uber charge over on Moolah, though, which does give Uppy and company to now push in.
Yeah, Uppy was literally just taking the taxi home in the middle of all that, saw the chaos erupting, thinks, you know what, I'm off home, gets the early ride, and yeah, goes all the way back to spawn. It means there's now such a big advantage for MANDEM to retake this point with, and they're not even going to have to use it by the looks of things. 2 players feed in for this force. Wait, that's 3, never mind, the 4th feeds in, and the 4th one is the one that gets the drop onto Uppy. Held on for slightly too long there. Really nice play. The bomb comes in all the way from the concrete side, completely blindsides the combo of MANDEM and able to strip the Uber charge away. And now Forfeit's 18 seconds left on their timer. Massive Uber ad. Surely they're round to lose.
Yeah, nice little line playing as well by Moolah, and I think that was Nevo as well, just kind of keeping themselves in the area long enough to kind of seem like a impressionable force. They throw in 2 soldiers, they get the force out. Rons is going to commit in behind. They don't even want to deal with him, they just kind of pretend he's not there. They're addressing the point first and keeping the blob alive primarily to see if they can just kind of keep a foothold on this midpoint. And with 2 down and Ron's revealing himself eventually, it's going to be a strong case for Forfeits to hold on to this for their full 10 seconds. They have one last little push in MANDEM to just get some bodies, some names onto there, keep the game going, but without Uppy, without their medic, this is going to be a very hard sort of defense to make. I say defense, more like offense, and yeah, they are selling a lot of people down the river to just get that time and just get some sort of pressure onto them, but they're playing the smart game over on Forfeits, and it's going to be a smart round for them.
Yeah, that drop was a real turning point, wasn't it? It was looking so good with MANDEM. They'd just taken the point. It looked like they were maybe going to be equalising the scores out, able to keep charging forward, and Moolah was still far away from Uber himself, but yeah, that one drop comes in, just caught out of sight, landing straight onto Uppy on that point, and he's able to, you know, turn around on his head. So well played there from Forfeits. Well fought round. Felt like that round went on forever with all the back and forth, all the forward holds occurring, but Forfeits back in the game, 1-1 on, let's remind you, MANDEM's pick of product.
Alright, we start off amid. Double soldier straight out of the gate for MANDEM. Very, very crushing and difficult to pull off. And usually you kind of get punished immediately, but Horns manages to get a long jump all the way back to health pack area, kind of a more commanding place to kind of keep yourself alive, and it allows the rest of MANDEM to come in and kind of follow up on the play. Deli feeling a lot of hate to start off with. Horns nukes on top of him, commits himself, but a Demoman trade is a worthy sort of trade for a soldier to make, and now with Fancy, in theory they should have, okay, well, Fancy goes down. And I guess I wonder where the scouts and Rons and everybody else was during all of that, but I guess they had Brugeman kind of jumping in aggressive. They pop off Uber Charge over onto Nevo, but these Uber Charges have been the weakest aspect of product for Forfens, and there's another one that goes onto the roster.
Yeah, this soldier aggression is kind of what you have to do, right, against a sniper. We're seeing the sniper coming into form now, dealing with 2 quick kills there, and the U-charge is used off regardless, and is everyone just going to get out alive here? It looks like they are over on Forfens. Brugeman is very, very far in, as usual, just up to some shenanigans, but everyone else is living, and in fact, Brugeman gets out as well, so it's looking absolutely massive. Boulder goes down too, so this sniper, the threat is just so big, and D-Mule has been hitting some shots, so why not keep it up?
Yeah, I like the idea of Ubering into the sniper in these sort of chaotic, strange fights, but it was a very weakly set up Uber. I don't think everybody was kind of situated or in a place to kind of commit or do any sort of good effort on top of that. It only really works if you have an entire team Uber rather than these sort of solo YOLO Ubers, because it's just too much for the bubble to kind of absorb, and also when everybody else comes in later as well, the sniper has free pickings on them instead.
Yeah, absolutely. As now the 2 soldiers come flying in, trying to do what they can against these sniper, but D-Mule just walks forward off the edge of China and is able to fly in, so it's all the way back. What on earth
that man is a hater. He chased poor Brugeman all the way back to shoot him and pepper him on that skill stick, and he gets rewarded because now there's nobody watching that flank. He kills the sniper who's like wondering why there's a scout on top of him. He then kills the demo man who's wondering why a scout is on top of him. Nobody seems to be coming or dealing with this scout that manages to go all the way back to their base.
And lives. and gets out alive, of course. The bombs come back in now, trying to again get in onto OP. Brugeman has got open behind, but has been spotted out by Fancy, so maybe not too long for this world as the force comes through. OP respected this time. Isn't going to be caught dropping again in a similar scenario.
Oh no, Fancy.
They're so aggressive on Fancy again. Like you say, the 2 soldiers bomb in as well, and Delhi gets 1. But damn, this aggression from MANDEM. It's a forward hold, not a forward push.
This is still pretty good. Any sort of trades and shenanigans you can have happen at this point is a point in Forfence's favour, because they just want to stop a forward hold from happening. So with those players with their foot in the door and a couple of trays, this allows them to get back into mid, start these fights and their lines going over. And yeah, now it's to kind of more in the reminiscence of a mid-fight now between these 2 teams to see who kind of shows weakness. Delhi, that is some wacky positioning, my guy. Oh my goodness, he is fortunate you've got Mula healing you up the butt, and you know, your scouts manage to ebb and flow away from all this damage. They do get a cheeky capture on top of them now, but that's a lot of people in health and committed on top of that, and they smell enough weakness for the rest of MANDEM to just cut across here. I don't think it was worth it. I think making a sort of point play like that's just too dangerous against a team like MANDEM. You were doing better, I think, than you just had these sort of bombs and sort of people behind over on the flank area, but c'est la vie.
They're forced as well on grass, holds his in and gets it onto Bulu. That's the force, down to 20 HP. Got to be done. But now again, we've been in a similar position last round. Big advantage over for MANDEM and for OP as they're going to try and hang on to this point. Are they going to try and use it to block this? It seems like they are. Boulder the one to run in with this Fancy bombing over the top as well. But there's players behind, like you say, and this Uber's looking backwards and forwards, doesn't know where to go as Nevo, D-Mule both go down. QB going back for a spawn camp as well to insert. That's quite bad manners. But yeah, eventually this Uber just kind of gets neutralized, right? Everyone just spreads out and then just recollapses really nicely. QB might be living, or gets a frag for it as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of using Uber charges to kind of just block off these cheeky capture of the point. You know, it just seems like a really beneficial time to make these Uber charges happen, because it has to come out eventually. They have these advantages over them. Getting them across at this point almost guarantees you a net couple of kills, which is usually enough. They will come back from the respawn just that bit quicker because they are losing in that time period of the point going down. They capture the point back now with their numbers, and with an Uber charge in the back pocket as well. They just need to not feed kills over on Forfens, and I think they're likely to win this round.
Yeah, especially because Uffy has to wait another few seconds for an Uber charge can even come out, and when that does happen, it's going to be into overtime pretty much. So it's all about point standing, all about trying to get some cap time. Boulder, the first one in to start edging the side of this cap, but it's so hard. There's so much spam, there's stickies everywhere, there's rockets everywhere.
God, what a time for a pause.
And we have it's a brutal time for a pause. They can't be doing that to us.
Well, well, well. I mean, we can't really surmise who wins this so much because I think they're both possible in pause time to kind of win out the round. Both teams have overcharge. Nobody looks like they're really sticking out like a sore thumb or an easy kill on anyone. If you were doing any sort of Oracle ability here, Ben, this is your time. This is your...
Haunts is in the sky. I've got eyes on Haunts. I want to see where that soldier's landing because I'm just seeing a soldier who is sort of, you know, menacingly staring towards the enemy combo mid-air. So depending on where Haunts is landing, could be a big difference maker. But like you say, yeah, there's going to be an Uber trade coming out, and like we've seen with many of these before, there's chances for people to get behind, people to get dropped in the Ubers, people just get caught out and maybe lose worse post-Uber positioning. And yeah, like they can go either way, right? We've seen situations that there's really be a coin flip, but once you're in overtime, it's so hard because even if, for example, the trade happens and everyone from Forfence just backs out, and everyone lives, they're probably still in advantage to win the round because it's so hard to deny the enemy team from capping at all.
We're back in with
all the way behind, and charges traded out. Evo, or much later, flash there over onto Fancy, who is kept alive. Evo isn't able to find that kill, so now it's all about this post-Uber, all about this positioning, all about the health. Who is going to be coming out on top in this one? It seems like MANDEM have got decent position so far. Brugman with a massive shot there up onto Haunts. They traded that 1-for-1 actually. Demo goes down. Haunts is going to be a faster respawner because the point is currently in the blue, and they're just letting it stay in the blue. There's no reason to deny your own spawner when it's 0 seconds anyway, so Demo is going to be slightly later back into the fight, going to be a slight advantage for Mula because they used earlier over on Forfence in that previous skirmish, but there's 40 seconds left, and like we said before, this is still advantage to Forfence. It's so hard to hang on to the point for this entire time, and especially when they're almost 20% down on the Uber. If Mula sees this, they can go in.
Yep, they should use the Uber charge usually straight away during all this. They're taking so much time. They're finally going to use the Uber charge now. They just need to get some kills with it. It finally comes out though. They find the Uber charge. They find the building over on Oppie to get that sort of solidifying. So now that net advantage is taken away from Forfence. But all they have to do is just cap the point. And if they spend this time rather fighting around the point than just committing in, they might have pulled this off. But Deli gets net some beautiful kills for his team to kind of clutch it in the last second.
Deli's a monster. Deli is an absolute monster, hitting some great shots there to close out that round. It was scrappy, it was messy, and it was so close to MANDEM clawing that one back, but eventually the spawn advantage is just too much for them to deal with. And there we go, 2 rounds to 1. Up now for Forfence. They battle back in this game, and they battled back really well. Last time we saw them roll out to mid with that sniper, which was really problematic for MANDEM to deal with. But this time, going to be going cookie cutter once more. And does that mean we're going to see some early aggression from this soldier duo of Demo and Brugman, because it's been brutal when they've gone for it earlier?
Tilting scoreline maybe on the books for poor MANDEM. This is the map pick. They should be a bit more commanding than this, but Forfence going a bit ebb and flow, showing the history and the lore of this map and how much it can create these upsets. Rodden's finding a strong position, but an even stronger serve from Deli and company to kind of throw some spanner into the works and allow them to kind of bait them into these sort of over-aggressing lines from MANDEM, and they just get gobbled up. Again, I liked the bombs and the damage laid out, but there was just some nice sort of solo play and kind of reactionary play from Forfence to turn that around there.
Yeah, and now they've been given the biggest reward you can possibly get off a mid-fight. They've had practically a full wipe, full Uber advantage, able to get set up in this forward hold instantly in this round, and this Pyro has taken so much in, so just get them through the door and they get the force out onto Mula. D-Mula is going to jump around to spawn, try and see what he can sweep up, but it doesn't seem like anyone's home. Boulder still back building, going to be about a 50% add, so there is still potential to hold this door shut on these 3 tiny little choke points that you have to get out of on a product forward hold. So the game's not over yet in terms of this forward hold. There's still a few more seconds before this Uber charges back up. Insert back on the Pyro again, so still work to be done. Oh, and the
what? Excuse me? Demo coming in from the mid doorway? Nobody checking the doorways. I guess you just don't expect it here in Prem. Usually there's a lot of respect given between all these teams that nobody dares put their foots through these doorways, but Demo dares and Demo wins.
That's absolutely gigantic. So it's 2-1 up to 4th regardless. There's now less than 2 minutes on the clock. And again, another ginormous Uber advantage for the French side, as they're able to just chill this one out. Moule's almost at 100%. They've got the sniper as well, overwatching all these massive sight lines. It's so brutal to try and get in on any of these. Demo getting spammed off a bit, but it's going to be so hard to start capping this point with the threat of a headshot ripping through at any moment.
The heals are completely away from them as well, and because the heals was away, there was no real time to kind of get that Ubercharge building, so the longer they're stuck in this, they finally pop off Ubercharge now with that majority capped, and nice pressure. They will get the kill onto Fancy, so even if the Ubercharge comes at these later stages, it's not going to quite have the same amount of bite. Moule, he's very low. He spent so much time dancing around for the potential damage. They just kind of ignored him for a little bit and then finished him off. So with an Ubercharge maybe on this way for poor Oppie, they actually go instead for the rest of the combat classes. You can't get your Ubercharge if we kill all of your patients, but he finds one from the respawn queue and they're back into it now. They can't quite finish the cheeky cap off, but this probably works in the favor of 4th as it allows their respawners to get back into this fight.
Yeah, absolutely, and what a crazy last couple of 30 seconds this has been. MANDEM are going to be pretty happy with what's transpired though, because they've got an Uber advantage to work with, and it's what you need. They're over a minute behind on the clock in what is a do-or-die round for them. They have to win this to stay in this map of product. And Nevo, so aggro on point, but just dies on the way in. Demo bombs in 2, but is blocked on the way through. The force finally comes through from Delhi as everyone feeds it. It's a full sack. It's a 5-man sack over on the 4th side.
I mean,
they get the Uber, I guess, but
I guess you can call that like a pseudo-suicide wave?
yeah, but the thing is, Moule wasn't building, right? Because the first player to fall was the pocket scout. So.
Well, just think of it as like you've got the advantage bit. That's all you need.
Yeah, 40% advantage. It's definitely workable, right? You can obviously start walking it in, but it's definitely a lot different to had it been like a 60% advantage or something like that. Because now, yeah, like you say, Moule is going to have it even now. They can start walking this forward, but in the meantime, it's 1 minute 30 on this clock for MANDEM. They bought a fair bit of time with this rebuild having to come in from Moule, and it's all on QB, all on Delhi, all on Nevo. What can they get done with this Uber? The bomb's coming in, forced out very quickly. Delhi caught out in the backlines though by Rons, and Haunts has lived for a little bit too long as well, but now this is where it's all important, because Oppie almost has this potential to catch people out if they overstep now on the 4th side. Demo going to be bombing in and around, trying to land an Oppie 1 rocket. Oh, the surf away though. It's going to live.
Yeah, they were, I guess, banking a bit more on the flank from Demo to put in some work. They didn't really sync up or want to kind of do collective damage on Fancy and that. Some were doing that, but not everybody. And poor Delhi, he's just being an absolute mark of a target for the for MANDEM to just kind of chew up and gobble up every single time. And Fancy just feels so tanky on all these mids and fights and whatnot. Even if he gets like soloed YOLO'd on, he just seems to be okay with it and just stays in and just he doesn't like runs away, he just like stays in the fight, gives them the kill, but makes it so like he doesn't feed into the rest of his other teammates.
Oh, Delhi gets caught again in this Raiders Horns, bombs in behind, able to find the French demo man before this push can even get going in this Uber charge. Yes, it got them out of the sort of phantom forward hold that they were in, but 1-for-1 now. Oppie is going to have a big advantage over on the MANDEM side, and the times have flipped. Who would have thought this 2 minutes ago when 4th they were flying ahead at the start of this round with their consecutive forward holds and kills on the medic in spawn, but this time it's they're the ones who are going to have to try and be pushing back in onto this point with Disad. Oppie is going to have an Uber charge ready to go in. Are they going to be able to block it in time? No, they let the point flip back, but so many players right before they get into this, they're all going to get denied spawns. The point can be recaptured, but will they even get out alive here? Bruisman is going to be close. They're going to try and bomb up, try and stay in. They can't fall back too far on the 4th side, otherwise they'll get locked out completely. But 3 players now bombing in under the height. They smell blood on MANDEM, and they smell a deciding round, I believe, as the last couple of feeders come in. It's not going to be enough. 2-2. We go to what is practically Golden Cap.
I think if we're on the side of 4th here, we need to like press our scoreboards, have a quick look in the corner, and realise that we're playing product. We're not playing, is it Bagel? Bagel. We're not playing Bagel because they're doing these sort of plays where they go aggressive in over on 4th, commit some players in for MANDEM to deal with, and then they like, okay, now we can get some, 2 seconds of cap over on this midpoint, and just like push it back that way. The reset positions aren't strong enough over on products, so they just end up, and it takes such a long time to cap. So in these times that they get the capture for like 5 seconds, that's all that is, 5 seconds, and then they just claim it back again for another minute on MANDEM.
Yeah, absolutely. At this time now, Inzo is... Ooh, Delhi's so weak. These two scouts are doing such good work here on MANDEM to try and keep it in this mid-fight. How are they still living? Timo with the SMG out is still farming, still feasting with it, still fancying the frag over on towards Boulder, but mid still not being capped up yet. Haunts absolutely deleted there on the way through. How has this mid-fight not ended yet? Forfeit's finally looking like they're going to be able to come in and get this capture through, but that was a long one.
I'm liking the start from Demol, very based sort of sniper gameplay, just kind of hanging out with your team, being that sort of strong force, and clicking the same things that your teammates are going to click when you're in these sort of aggressive positions. Does make them harder to click, however, but I mean, Demol is making it work, and you might not see it, but it's a lot of damage laid out by the man. He's not getting kills, he's getting damage.
Yeah, absolutely, and getting the threat as well, just knowing that you can't step out into these sight lines is so claustrophobic if you're on the enemy side. As Ubercharger's traded out now from either side. Rons goes down, Fancy goes down, but Inzo's in onto Niwa. Inzo might be getting more as well. Doesn't quite land the shot onto Mula, but Haunts is in as well. Haunts is the one to finish the job.
Oh, what a horrible set of affairs. A couple of missed crossbows from Mula onto his teammates who end up going down because of those crossbows. A bit of faffing about as well for the next patient who couldn't quite get a crossbow in time. He gets killed, and then he's lacking a bodyguard for these players to come in and then finally top it off in the sort of clever way to dodge all this aggression. He ends up in an awful position to die in the end with a longer respawn. That's TF2.
Yeah, and now respawning up with a big disadvantage. OP only another few seconds away from having an Ubercharge to use, so for offense there's a limit to how close they can get, how far they can step forward, how aggressive they can be in. MANDEM, they think that they've overstepped their mark as they bump all the way in Fancy up on the height of China, but everyone is dropping, everyone is falling down. Mula is out alive for now, but that's pretty much it. It's even gone down as well. Boulder was thinking for a moment there about going all the way through, as decided to think better of it, but look at the space that's been taken.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think that's one of those sort of freeze frames I'd love to have.
Ron's is on the medic.
Close, but not. This is not quite Metalworks, it seems, as he won't get the kill onto him. Demol goes down, probably because he's the only one going in while the rest of his team are dealing with the little Ron's-shaped fire in their base. But at least there's no forwards hold, or at least you think. Haunts hiding around the corner actually gets a nice couple of set of pipes over on Delhi onto his supporting cast and crew, and now Brugman is trying to put on a sort of flank play. They won't find anybody, however, and it seems like the kills are giving up and finding themselves over on MANDEM. They're just feeding actually a little bit on forfeit.
Yeah, this is so weird. Like, yeah, they almost get the kill on the medic, but they're just feeding in one at a time, and there's no.
They have
had exactly. Yeah, there's no need to be feeding in those positions. They could just use
Delhi,
Ubers
awful position. Why are we trying to cap the point?
They haven't capped yet either. They haven't capped yet. What is going on? And now the worst bit is that MANDEM have Uber. They can just stay in this position. They're absolutely chill. There's no demo man on this enemy side, and any cap instantly would force.
What an awful Uber. What an absolute dog of an Uber.
Oh no, what are we watching?
Well, okay, well, MANDEM don't want to punish them for it, which is very, very generous. They actually give them the point as well. Are we just giving things away? MANDEM, charity. Fancy is just having a time of his life. I think he wants more logs on his little sort of log page. Haunts is going to go in aggressive now. Meets the scout at full HP. That went down as well as you thought it was. It sounds like, and they also mirror that over on the side of MANDEM, whereas they're gobbling up but 2 scouts apiece. Brugman's going to jump in, get some nice little space, keeps himself alive as well in good Brugman fashion. Delhi has just made a paper though. Fortunately, Mula's keeping him alive long enough, but they cap off that point during all that aggression. These are much better times to cap over on the side of MANDEM than Forfences. They finally pop off an Ubercharge now. They don't quite have it over on MANDEM. They're delaying, but that delaying is going to be a wonderful sort of game plan for them. I don't think this Scout Nevo's got any damage onto anybody there, and yeah, that is like a 2000 8 Scout getting Ubered then. It's not a single shot hit with that Uber charge, and well, now we have an Uber charge to deal with on MANDEM. Now let's see how it looks. Fancy is in, he's used it, he's jumped straight off of Mula,
Okay,
calls out his Scout to finish off that medic. This is a much better Uber from MANDEM.
Absolutely, really well held there. There was no threat at all. The Scout wasn't getting enough good body blocks as well coming in. Is going to mean that Uppy is able to get that Uber charge off, and yeah, Mula going down means that now 20 seconds left on this clock for MANDEM. Mula not going to have time to build up an Uber of his own. It's going to have to be a dry fight. It's going to have to be quick. It's going to have to be scrappy, and they're going to have to try and barge their way in whatever way they possibly can. Give the soldier jumping in first. Fancy taken so weak, but is able to get out and live. The counter aggression now coming in onto pretty much everyone. Both go down. Inzo in as well behind is feasting at the deli. Takes down all the backline, and that's a game.
Yeah, just nice little target selection coming out from everybody, actually, from MANDEM. Nice little just ebbs and flows and deciding points, and it really sailed away from Forfence there. They looked like they had something that just kind of slipped between their fingers. There are definitely things they need to address in their product gameplay, whilst MANDEM felt more like just the cruel sort of done by these sort of plays by Demor. You know, these random med drops and deaths and all this stuff that usually as MANDEM you're so confident that they don't happen, or you know, Uppy has just such a pedigree of just not dying to these sort of things. For them to come out and just cut off your gameplay like that must have been really annoying, because they didn't really do too much wrong in my eyes, but still just these Hail Marys ended up sticking.
Yeah, I still think it's going to be one that they're going to obviously want to look back on, because yeah, of course they dropped 2 rounds, and to be honest, in those couple of those rounds, yeah, they brought them back close eventually, but Forfence were in control for parts of this map, so that's something that later on this season, come week 7 in the playoffs, they're going to be wanting to sort of seal in those holes, particularly given that this was their own map pick over on MANDEM. But they fought back, and they do what champions do, right? Is even when it's maybe not exactly all going your way, or the other team steps up, you step up even more. And this is why they've won the previous season. This is why they've been contenders for so long up at the top. And yeah, really good performance from them. But credit to them, right? This is about as close of a series as you can get, right? 4-3 on the first map, and then this comeback to a 3-2 over on products. Like, these teams were so closely matched, but at the end of the day, Forfence, they're coming home with 1 point off of this.
We need we need to look back at Delhi's stats. I want to see like this death counter and what's going on with it, because it looked like the man was just made of biscuit. He was just dying and dying and dying. I wouldn't be surprised if he was.
We've got logs on the screen. 22 deaths for Delhi, which is honestly like
it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I mean that's still pretty high. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just because a long product game. But
I think everyone's deaths are going to be high when the enemy scout duo has, what is that? Some quick maths. Is that 75 frags between them?
Jesus!
On one map.
Look at Boulder's deaths though. This man doesn't die. This is his life insurance.
38 and 8 is. What are these scouts like? I don't know. Obviously, scout logs on product, right? It's always a tale as old as time, right? But like,
I mean, you say that,
not
but you
normally
look
like
at
this.
Nevos and QBs, like they're not even in the same ballpark. Maybe you could make a case of like, oh, he just wasn't dying, haha. But like, dear God,
that's crazy.
And also, there was a lot of situations where they were making these 5-man sacks in over on Forfence, which they probably needed to maybe pull off some of the things they need to do, and it was better in the grand picture of things. I'd rather they got the kill onto Oppie rather than if they didn't. But I don't know, like, look, the difference between like Fancy and say Delhi's damage, something needs to look back. I think Delhi's getting caught out for mainly, I think, just these what they want to do with these Uber charges. They have an Uber charge advantage, and they make sure very certain that Nevo gets a full Uber charge on just him. But Delhi is then like absolutely left on his own. Obviously, he has to disconnect from the combo, but who's he being passed off to? Who's protecting him? These soldiers aren't protecting him. The scout isn't protecting him.
The enemy soldiers, apparently.
Yeah, basically. They just like claim their free demo man kill. So yeah, I think they definitely need to look at this Uber situation. The MANDEM is just more like just tightening these like random little kind of
Yeah.
doorway watches and things like that. Nothing
They seem to
major.
have things going a bit better by the end. They'd sorted themselves out mid-game. And they
Oh,
had that pause as well
I
after one of
will
the
say
rounds.
though, Mueller put in the work this map.
Oh,
I'd
Mueller
say
absolutely did.
absolutely put in the work this map. Like if there was any sort of things going wrong on that Metalworks, he redeemed it on this map. He was
Yeah, you critiqued him out of Metalworks, right? But maybe Mueller heard it and thought, you know what, I need to show these casters what's up. And yeah, I agree completely. It was a phenomenal
Demel had some
performance.
strong moments as well. Brugman was it was solid, but not like Brugman quality. It's not like I think he got pocket of the season, didn't he? So not pocket of the season, I think levels, in my opinion. But yeah, this is week 1 though. This is ETF2L's, autumn season. It's been a long time and a lot of changes. So any more kind words from you, Ben, before we go?
There's still 6 weeks left of this, so fortunes can change. But yeah, for Forfens, they're obviously hoping they do so. But playing the reigning champions in week 1 and getting a point, maybe not the worst day in the world at the office for them. But they've got 6 more weeks to prove their worth. I'm sure they're aiming on a playoff spot and potentially aiming to go even further as well once those playoffs do roll round. But for that, I think we're good to start shooting off because it's been a busy night tonight. There's been 4 games on simultaneously, and that's it for week 1.
Yep. You heard him right, folks. That's it for our week 1 game of MANDEM versus Forfens. I've been Turretabs. With me has been Ben PL, of course, and also we have the darling Samus on our production. And a big shout out to Essentials.tf and the rest of the casting team going and flowing on the rest of this ETF2L season. All right. I'll see you guys next time, promptly and sharply, for our next set of games. You'll find them probably on Team Fortress TV. Bye-bye.